teenage girl was handcuffed and arrested simply for buying food after curfew, a shocking display of law enforcement priorities. Ricky Gervais erupted in the studio, branding the act absurd and highlighting the double standards of justice in Britain, where real criminals roam free while the powerless face the full force of the law. Labor representatives scrambled to defend the decision, insisting it was about maintaining order. The clash escalated into a blistering, fiery debate, voices raised and tempers flaring, leaving viewers stunned and questioning the fairness of a system that punishes the innocent while letting the dangerous walk free. What do you think? Was this the right approach by the authorities, or a shocking abuse of power? Watch till the end and share your opinion in the comments.
Did you know over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed? Subscribing is free and helps us create more great content. Hit subscribe now and join our community.
I'm more mellow about, and some things I'm more angry about. Like, I never really cared about politics. I went through the phase at sort of, 15, 16, thinking I was Che Guevara. But then you think, there's no point. But I realise the thing that makes my blood boil is obviously animal cruelty and all injustice.
Ricky Gervais has never been one to wade too deeply into politics, but this incident pushed him past his breaking point. What he saw wasn't just a one-off abuse of power. To him, it exposed one of Starmer's most uncomfortable truths: a two-tier justice system and the sheer injustice that comes with it. Starmer promised tougher street patrols and stronger neighbourhood policing. But if this is the result, a full squad of officers storming into a McDonald's to drag away a teenage girl, then the government's priorities couldn't be clearer. This isn't about keeping people safe. It's about control, and control in the easiest places. While real threats walk free, the weight of the law falls on the young and powerless. It's a grim reminder that under Starmer's watch, force isn't applied where it's needed most, but where it's most convenient.
If you don't like that, if you don't like the changes that we've made, I say the door is open and you can leave.
Starmer seems blind to the everyday reality of ordinary people. He governs from a distance, cushioned by privilege, never setting foot in the neighbourhoods where his policies cause the most damage. Ricky Gervais sees it for what it is: Starmer twisting laws and rules to suit himself, while ordinary citizens are left to suffer the fallout. And then comes the message from on high: if you don't like the way things work, you're free to leave Britain. In other words, it's the victim who should vanish, not the one responsible. As usual, Starmer stayed silent. Not a word about the handcuffed schoolgirl. Not a word about the outrage. Not until the pressure reached breaking point. Gervais pounced on that silence, accusing him of hiding behind the press while people's lives are being upended. In Gervais's words, a real leader would stand up, face the music, and admit when the system's failed, not duck for cover until the headlines fade.
Pretend it never happened. That'd be tough. That'd be tough. If I could, no, I don't think I could do that. Even if I was absolutely scared, I couldn't pretend it never happened.
This girl was never a political figure. She was just a teenager. Yet now, she's at the centre of a national debate. A debate over whether the authorities are targeting the harmless while ignoring the dangerous. For freedom-minded voices like Ricky Gervais, the question is simple: is this really how taxpayer money is being spent? Because while violent gangs, armed with machetes, roam the streets of major cities in broad daylight, while grooming rings and predators destroy lives unchecked, the government somehow finds it a priority to send a full police squad into a McDonald's to arrest a schoolgirl over a curfew rule. In some districts, patrols barely show up at all, either out of fear or a desire to avoid headlines about migrant crime spilling across the channel. And yet, when it comes to a teenager buying food, the state comes down with full force. That absurdity is exactly what Gervais zeroes in on: a young girl, handcuffed and dragged into a van over a burger. It would almost sound like a sketch from one of his shows if it weren't so bleakly real. When comedians start sounding like the only serious political commentators, Gervais has warned, you know something is very, very wrong. The fact that we're even having this conversation should force everyone to stop and think about the state of Starmer's Britain. It's a moment where parody and reality blur, and no one is laughing.
It always comes back to that principle for me. All politics starts with that. Every discussion, offence, right and wrong, everything, fundamental human rights. So I think I can, and there's so much misunderstanding that it's like you think that you can't make any quantum leaps when you talk about that, because there's such a fundamental misunderstanding.
Starmer's Britain is drifting further and further from the image of a once great democracy. Say what you will, but under his leadership, the policing apparatus has grown massive. The real question is not how big it is, but how it's being used. Take Tommy Robinson, arrested time and again for speaking out against crime and illegal migration. Yet in the very same country, police hesitate to step foot into neighbourhoods where gangs openly terrorise locals with machetes. Officers themselves admit that some areas are no-go zones after dark. Others avoid them entirely to sidestep crime reports that might make their superiors look bad. But a schoolgirl in McDonald's? That's easy. Handcuff her, twist her arms behind her back, drag her into a van. Job done. Even if she had broken some ridiculous curfew rule, wouldn't it have been more reasonable to call her parents or relatives? To resolve the matter like adults instead of criminals? What possible good comes from treating a teenager like a violent offender? The only certain outcome is harm. Mental scars that may never heal, bruises from the cuffs that classmates will laugh at, humiliation that lingers long after the headlines fade. Meanwhile, taxpayers are footing the bill. Squad cars, officer time, transport, paperwork, all to detain a child. Resources that could have gone toward investigating real, dangerous crime. And people are noticing. More and more, the public sees the double standards playing out in today's police force. The strong-arm tactics are saved for the powerless, while the truly dangerous continue unchecked.
Double standards of policing here in the UK. It was okay for 10, 20, 30,000 Black Lives Matter protesters to gather and protest. I have no commentary about that right now. But how is it okay for them, but it's not okay for one little white lady? What is it the government are so afraid of? And to those boy police officers, I say, what you have on there, your little fluoro vest, that's just a costume. It's fancy dress. It doesn't make you an officer of the law. It certainly doesn't make you someone that I have any respect for. It seems to me like you spent too much of lockdown with your face in the fridge or possibly at the drive-thru at McDonald's. Time to get out and sort out your exercise routine and get yourself into some kind of shape before you start arresting elderly ladies for the crime of standing politely on a street corner. Come on, fat boy.
And while Starmer's two-tier justice system plays out in heavy-handed arrests, another schoolgirl has now fallen victim to the same madness. She was just 12 years old.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Next UK, your go-to for real stories and sharp analysis.